Hi, my name is Casey, Sales Manager for the press brakes at MC Machinery Systems, and I'd like to briefly introduce you today to a new series of press brakes that we're offering in the North American market. For 20 years we've sold machines made in Japan, press brakes made in Japan, that are the electric and the hybrid models you've probably heard of. They're from Toyokoki, very high accuracy and green machines for the top tier buyer. But we've had increasing demand over the years to get a more entry-level, mid-range machine that fits more of the market's budget. High quality, but yet a solid machine that serves a larger market. And so to answer that, what we did is we scoured the world and came up with a lot of choices, but we settled on a Denner company out of Turkey, who makes machines from 4 foot 40 tons up through 2,000 tons and 30 feet wide, tandem machines and single machines. And we've had a great success so far beginning to market this. Denner sells about, or makes about 400 to 500 machines a year over in Europe and Asia, and we're going to be adding to their capacity and opening up a new market for them over here in North America soon. The first machine I'd like to show you is, this happens to be an 8 foot 80-ton machine. It's called the Smart Series. There's actually 3 series of machines that we market: the Smart, the Elite, and the Ultra. As you move from Smart to Elite to Ultra, you gain axes, more speeds, more open heights, more features. So the most basic machine is the Smart machine. The Smart machine, as all machines, is a true Y1, Y2 machine. This machine actually has even the Y1, Y2 printed on the covers, but what this means is that we have magnetic scales watching the piston stroke on the left and the right side of the machine. Many companies use glass scales. We use magnetic scales. The accuracy of 0.01 millimeters or 4/10 thousandths is the same as a glass scale. But magnetic scales we chose because in a dirty shop environment they don't get dirty or stop reading correctly when they get dirty. So it's a little more rough and ready type scale. So all the machines have Y1, Y2. We control the descent going down and ram parallelism all the time while bending. Controlled, by the way, for the Smart machine. You have basically a 6 to 7 inch little LCD monitor here, which is very easy to program. Same basic input you put on any other press brake, with thickness, type of material, how long the bend is, what angle do you want, simple angle corrections, and so forth. And you can keep a tool library in here of any kind of tooling you desire, and plenty of jobs. Very simple, touch button control, LCD readout. With this machine, you also have the ability to walk up and put programs in here by USB port. So it's easy to store things offline. Software comes with the machine for such functions, and then you can go further with the offline 3D animation software and produce code from 3D solid models. The third axis I was leading up to is on the back gauge. The back gauge on the Smart machine goes back and forth. People call this the X-axis. So if you're gauging different length flanges, the X-axis moves back and forth to give you those flanges. You can program inside or outside flange dimensions on the control. Very simple, basic machine. You can move this back and forth, and then it kind of locks where you want it. This is a flip finger type gauge. It's got a round tip on it, and a second surface gauge here or up here. But these are available also with a flat surface. You have small parts you don't want to gauge on a round tip. Height-wise, there is a bar here that you adjust by rotating simply this knob. So it's a manual R-axis adjustment. This machine, if you look at the lower table down here, it's a solid block, but this is not a crowning table. On the standard machine, there is no crowning. We make these machines, by the way, again, from 4 foot up through any size you want. Standard machine, no crowning. There is a demand for that. If you want to step up this machine as an option, you can get manual crowning on it, and then this block would be replaced with a similar size block, but with wedges inside. And then a hand crank on the left side, or I'm sorry, the right side of the machine with a digital readout would be rotated to tell you the maximum crown in the center of the machine. The punch holders, as you can see, are segmented. These are approximately 100 millimeters or 4 inches tall, with a sliding wedge in between. This is a common European type punch holder. On all the standard machines that we sell at MC Machinery Systems, we have the ability of each of these punch holders to put a European tool, like this Wilson tool right here, or an American tool in the same holder. There's a sliding plate right here that moves when you want to go from American, as it would be now, the tang in the center and shoulders on both sides, or slide this back and then have a European tool put in here. All the press brakes come with linear guided front sheet supports. This is your slightly more basic model offered on the Smart and the Elite. You can see there's a rocking front gauge on here. You can slap a sheet down, pull it against the front stop. Inch-millimeter scale here. These are aluminum with hardened steel and ground rods that your sheet rests on, and ball transfers in between. So very strong and supportive. You won't be scratching up the aluminum because you'll be resting your sheets on the hardened ground bars here. If you want to move this left and right, there is a rod that comes out like this. You put it in a little brake mechanism and you can slide these gauges where you want. If you want to move this support up and down in the vertical direction, there's a little handle here. If you loosen this handle, you can then manually pick it up and down to where you want it for the size die you're using. And then just quarter of a turn locks it back in place at the height you want. The stroke is 11 inches on the press brakes. It's a fairly generous stroke compared to other machines in this class, or even classes above this. Considered quote-unquote high-end machines that cost twice as much. 11 inches is a pretty hefty stroke. The back gauge goes back to about 600 millimeters or 20-some inches. Depends again on the model, but usually more than a customer really needs to get by with. Optional lengths, 1 meter back gauges, are possible from the factory if you wish to order it that way. The C-frame that mounts the magnetic scale down underneath here and references it to a non-flexing, non-moving C-frame relative to the bed. So even though you put a lot of pressure on the ram, this C-frame, this outside little C-frame, does not yaw and open up. And so we always know where this surface here of your punch is and where the bottom table is. Okay, we always keep the ram parallel under all loading conditions. The C-frame gap here is approximately 16 inches. Again, it varies on the machine you're looking at, but very large C-frame gap. So you can do wider sheets than the inside dimension you have of the frame. You see the back plate on the machine. This plate bends here, 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 and here, and goes around, and it's welded into the C-frames. This is not holding the hydraulic oil, but you do access, you can drain the oil through down below here and add it from the top. This is structural support. It's a heavy gauge plate up here. Inside here, if you're on top of the machine, you would see a separate oil tank isolated from the frame of the machine. The oil in any press brake, a conventional machine like this with a gear pump, all these machines have gear pumps, which have been around for many, many years and are on the top machines out there today. Our gear pump, for example, and the hydraulics are made by Horbiger, which is a German company, probably the most famous in the world for making hydraulic components. The pump itself is made in England, another high quality unit, but the oil tank itself is isolated from this member and the frames of the machine. So as the oil warms up 30, 40, 50 degrees over the course of several hours in the day, that heat does not readily get to the rest of the frames of the machine and cause things to flex a little differently with temperature and affect your angles. So we've taken that kind of precaution also. If you look over here, it's kind of dark, but you can see a nice curvature of the welds. All the welds on the machine are robust. All the guys who put the welds on these machines at the factory are all certified welders. They have to go through training and certification regularly. In front of me you can see photo cells. This is part of the CE certification. So when this machine is operational, if I would step in front of these cells, or anybody fell into these cells, it would stop the motion of the back gauge and the pump immediately. So you're safe walking behind the machine, but you don't need to put a cage back here.